A detective is trying to solve a series of brutal murders that are occurring on an isolated university campus. Will he be able to solve this mysterious case? Let's dig up. At the start of the movie, a detective named Pierre Niemans reaches the small university town of Gernon to investigate a brutal murder case. At the scene of the murder, he talks with one of the officers and informs them that he has come from Paris to investigate the case. In response, the officer tells him that 2 days ago, the dean of the university reported the disappearance of one of the college professors named Remy Collois. Remy is a lecturer and a hard-working young man, aged 32. Yesterday his lifeless body is discovered by a mountain climber. He also reveals that Remy's body is found suspended at a height of 150 feet above the ground. Afterwards, the officer escorts Niemans to the university, informing him that it is one of Europe's oldest universities. Then they quickly reach the hospital, where Remy's lifeless body is being examined. The officer informs Niemans that the hospital is attached to the university and offers free healthcare. Niemans meets with the doctor who shows him the mutilated body of Remy. The doctor explains that the incision on Remy's body has been made with a sharp instrument, resulting in multiple cuts and fractures. Furthermore, Remy's eyes have been forcefully removed and his hands brutally severed. As Niemans comes near the body, he observes tears streaming from Remy's closed eyes. Eventually, the doctor unveils the horrifying truth that, judging by the size and precision of the wounds, it appears that the murderer intends to torture the victim for hours, keeping him alive until he dies. In the afternoon, he goes to meet a local ophthalmologist named Cherniz. There, Niemans sees a dog and becomes scared as he has a fear of dogs. Then Dr. Cherniz comes and asks him about his identity, to which Niemans tells him that he is a detective and has come to investigate the Realme murder. During their conversation, Dr. Cherniz reveals that he is friends with Realme's dad and teaches at the university for almost 20 years. Then, Niemans shows him pictures of Remy's dead body and asks him why their eyes and hands are removed. Explaining this, Dr. Cherniz tells him that in the university, teachers have been marrying among themselves for ages. As a result, the bloodlines have become weak and worn out, leading to genetic problems that keep emerging. The isolation of the school has caused inbreeding among the professors, resulting in increasingly serious genetic disorders. Recently, however, there has been a reversal in the trend, with local village children falling ill while the babies of the college faculty remain healthy. The local villagers blame the faculty members for this situation. Niemans then asks if there might be a relationship between the mutilation and the disease. Dr. Cherniz suggests that there could be, as hands and eyes are unique body parts that represent our biological identity. Perhaps the killer wants to provide a hint about their motive. The scene cuts to the town of Sarzac, where Detective Max Kerkerian is present. Concurrently, in the town, the grave of 10-year-old Judith Hérault, who died in 1982, is being desecrated. Thus, Max heads to the graveyard to investigate the desecration of Judith's grave. Upon arrival, as Max tries to touch the grave, the caretaker stops him, stating that he needs to ask for permission from Judith's parents before conducting his investigation. Max inquires about Judith's mother's address, and the caretaker informs him that she is a mentally unstable woman who believes the devil killed her daughter. As he prepares to meet her, another officer informs Max that they first need to visit the principal of a local school to investigate another matter. Consequently, Max proceeds to meet the teacher, who leads him to a school records room that has been broken into by thieves. The teacher informs Max that nothing has been taken, and everything remains in its place. Upon hearing this, Max decides to leave. However, as he exits the room, a sudden recollection of Judith prompts him to inquire if she was also a student at the school. Thus, he re-enters the room and asks the teacher to check the records. It turns out that the record is missing, and someone has deliberately torn the pages to remove them from the file. Additionally, she informs Max that Judith was killed in a horrific highway accident, which caused her mother to lose her sanity. In the next scene, Max goes to see the highway patrolman to inquire about Judith's accident. There, he encounters a gravedigger who escorts him to an office and presents him with Judith's records on a computer. Additionally, the gravedigger offers Max some pictures from a file but warns him not to look at them due to their highly graphic nature. He reveals to Max that a 38-ton truck, traveling at 80 miles per hour, crushed the girl, while her mother was present on the side of the road, witnessing the cruel accident. Max asks the gravedigger for the phone number of the deceased family, but the gravedigger explains that it has been 20 years. However, he does provide Max with the address, which he hands over to him. On the other hand, Niemans arrives at the dean's office to investigate Remy's murder and meets the dean in his office. The dean informs Niemans that Remy is a hard-working and well-behaved individual who never causes any trouble. Additionally, Remy's father used to work as a librarian at the university, and Remy continued his father's job. Furthermore, the dean explains that it's a sort of tradition at the university for children to be born, grow up, and become professors, just like their parents. Moreover, he mentions that Remy has no prior police record. Interrupting the dean, Neiman suggests that they might be overlooking a crucial point that could help solve the case, such as someone who may have held a grudge against Remy. In response, the dean becomes angry and asserts that the university is like a temple of knowledge where everyone lives in perfect harmony and he has no right to accuse anyone. Unfazed by the dean's reaction, Neiman's requests to visit Remy's apartment. Eventually, the dean comes up with an excuse to join Neiman's and asks his son named Hubert, who also works at the university, to take him to Remy's apartment. Inside Remy's apartment, Neiman's examines his belongings and comes across Remy's incomplete PhD thesis, which he has been working on for years. In the evening, Neiman's meets a glaciologist named Fanny, who discovered Remy's dead body. During their conversation, Neiman starts questioning Fanny, which immediately makes her a suspect due to her climbing abilities. Despite her dislike for the school and its arrogant professors, Fanny works for the university to prevent frequent avalanches. She becomes angry when Neiman suggests that she might withhold evidence to protect the school. Fanny explains that anyone with proper equipment could have lifted the body off the cliff and disregards Neiman's obvious attraction to her. After they talk, Neiman gets a call from the pathologist who tells him that the water found in Remy's eyes is acid rainwater, but acid rain hasn't happened since the 1970s, and there hasn't been any rain recently. As morning arrives, Max goes to Judith's mother's house to inquire about her death and ask her some questions. Judith's mother claims that demons are returning to fulfill their mission, as they don't want Judith to cause any trouble. Hearing this, Max asks Judith's mother what trouble she is referring to and whether it was the demon who killed her daughter. Additionally, Max informs her that someone broke into the school and stole Judith's pictures and records. In response, Judith's mother explains that the demons want to hide their secret since Judith's face poses a threat to them. However, Max struggles to understand what Judith's mother is talking about. Then he asks Judith's mother about the circumstances surrounding Judith's death, and she tells Max that they were attacked by demons on their way back from the faculty's hospital in Gurnon. When they tried to escape, her husband and daughter were killed in a road accident. The next day, Neiman asks Fanny to accompany him up the glacier to collect ice samples for comparison with the acid rain found in Remy's eyes. Following a gut feeling, Neiman explores a tunnel where glacial ice is melting and stumbles upon a cave, where they discover a dead body frozen within the ice. Well, looks like this case just got a lot colder. Nice to meet you, Mr. Corpse. Meanwhile, Max enters a bar to inquire about a group's knowledge of the symbol on Judith's grave. After a heated argument with the group, Max engages in a physical fight with one of its members. Then he points a gun at the person's head, prompting them to explain that they had nothing to do with it. They reveal that they saw a man in a white Lada car at the cemetery the previous night. Upon hearing this, Max leaves the bar and asks some police officers to locate the white Lada in the town. After a while, one of the officers reports that they have found all the Ladas in the region, and the one specified in the town of Groenon belongs to a person named Philip. Max gathers information about Philip, who is a university graduate and works as a doctor in the maternity wing of the hospital. Further, Max obtains his address and goes to his house in search of more clues. As Max attempts to break the lock of the house, Neiman also arrives at the scene and mistakes him for a thief. After a brief period of confusion, they realize each other's true identities and break into the house together. They also realize that there may be a connection between the cases they are investigating. Inside the house, Dr. Philip keeps some dogs and conducts genetic experiments on them. Soon enough, Neiman realizes that the body he found in the ice cave belongs to Dr. Phillips and takes Max with him to the hospital. Upon their arrival, one of the doctors explains that Dr. Phillips was also killed similarly, but his eyes are intact, unlike Remy's body. However, a thorough examination reveals that both of Dr. Phillips' eyes are glass prostheses. As night falls, Neiman and Max go back to Chernise's office. They are shocked to find Dr. Chernise hanging on a wall, with the same kind of mutilation as the previous victims. Suddenly, they spot the shadow of the killer and try to catch the killer. However, the killer fights off Neiman and escapes after shooting all the bullets from Neiman's gun into the wall without hitting him. Max chases after the killer, but the killer manages to get away. The investigation team arrives and discovers that the killer used Chernise's blood to write the message "I will trace the source of the crimson rivers" on the wall. They also find out that the fingerprints on Neiman's gun belong to Judith, who died 20 years ago. This develops Neiman's interest in Judith's case, as he realizes that all the murders are connected. He asks Max to provide detailed information about Judith's accident. After that, Max goes back to search Judith's grave and discovers that it is empty, except for a photograph of her in the coffin. Niemans and Max both recognize the girl in the photograph as Fanny. After some time, Max and Niemans meet again, and Niemans shares his discovery. He explains that the faculty has been swapping professors' children with healthy newborns from the mountains to create a better generation due to inbreeding and genetic issues. Niemans suspects that Dr. Phillips must have exchanged Fanny for one of the faculty babies, leaving her twin Judith with her own family. Later, when Judith is brought to the hospital for a broken wrist, her mother sees pictures of Fanny and realizes that Fanny is her stolen daughter. The family flees, but the faculty causes an accident that kills Judith's father to hide their secret. To protect Judith, her mother hides her and fakes her death. Over time, Judith's mother becomes mentally unstable and takes refuge as a nun, while Judith searches for Fanny. Later, Judith reveals the whole story to Fanny and they make a plan to seek revenge. At Fanny's house, they discover the missing hands and eyes of the victims in her basement. However, Fanny has disappeared. Then Niemans orders the evacuation of the university, while he and Max head up the mountain in search of Fanny. As Fanny appears in front of them, suddenly, Judith, who is Fanny's twin, shows up from behind. Judith explains that their mother wanted revenge on the professors for their breeding program. Then, she tells Fanny to kill Niemans, but Fanny shoots Judith instead. The gunshot triggers an avalanche. Fanny, Niemans, and Max manage to escape by hiding under a tractor, while Judith dies in the avalanche. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you smash that like button, leave a comment, subscribe, and turn on notifications to help the channel out. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.